Hey everybody, day 33, Math with Grandma. Here's the last mathematician we're going to meet in our book. His name is Srinivasa Ramanuja. He was from the country of India and he lived about 100 years ago. He had very little education or training, but he made remarkable discoveries in mathematics. Mathematicians are people too. All right. Apple fractions. Grandma doesn't have actual apples to cut, but you guys could cut apples along with this if you wanted to. They actually use a red, a yellow, and a green one and talk about an orange too. And you don't have to have those, but it's fun to talk about them. Apple Fractions by Jerry Pallotta, illustrated by Rob Bolster. Hey, that's who's been illustrating a lot of the books that we've been reading. This book is about apples and math. Apples are fruit that we eat. They do not grow under rocks. They do not swim in the ocean. They are not made in a factory. Apples grow on trees. So many delicious apples. Thousands of different types of apples are grown around the world. Apples can be red, yellow, green, or some combination of all three colors. Grandma likes to eat a Jonathan apple. Granny Smith apples make great pie. Golden Delicious apples are really good when you cook them and eat them as cooked apples. I also really like a Honeycrisp apple to eat. Fractions are what we're going to talk about today. Fractions are when you have parts of things that are not the whole thing anymore. If I look at this fake pumpkin, it's divided into little sections. All the sections make one whole pumpkin, but I could break the pumpkin apart and not have quite the whole thing. We use a lot of fractions when we do cooking. This is a fraction. A fraction is a part of a whole thing. A fraction is shown by placing one number on top of another with like the minus sign in between. 1 over 2 is 1/2. 1 over 4 is 1/4. 3 over 4 is 3/4. This is a Macintosh apple. It is a whole Macintosh apple. This type of apple can both be a drink and a snack. Macintosh is very juicy, but is also crunchy and fun to eat. One whole apple. If you would like to share one apple with someone, then what would you do? Well, if there's 2 kids and 1 apple, a solution would be to divide the apple into 2 parts. A stem for one kid and an apple for the other kid. No, that wouldn't be right. One kid doesn't want the stem, but I can take a knife and divide it into half, and everybody gets a half. Well, a better way is to divide it into 2 equal parts. You get 1/2, and I get 1/2. It's like in the Big Hungry Strawberry. Cut it in 2, share half with me, and we'll both make it all gone. That's one red ripe strawberry the Big Hungry Bear will never get. We divided it in half. We each got some, even if we couldn't have the whole thing. Here is another half of the apple. 2 kids, 1 apple, 2 halves. Sharing apples and learning fractions can be fun. Ooh, here is a yummy Golden Delicious apple. This apple is a Golden Delicious. On the outside is a thin skin. On the inside, the fruit is soft. What if there were 3 children, but only 1 apple? We could divide the apple into 3 parts. Thirds. 1, 2, 3 kids. Hugo, Clara, Walter. Everybody could still have some apple, even if it wasn't the whole apple. We can share. Fractions is a lot about sharing. What if 3 friends want to eat this apple? 3 friends, 1 apple, 3 equal parts. 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3, 1, 2, 3, still equals a whole apple. One third. A third of the golden delicious apple. Not all apples have white fruit inside, but this apple is light yellow. Oh, here are the other 2/3. And what is left over from 1 whole apple after taking 1/3 away? Well, there are 2/3. 1/3 plus 2/3 equals 3/3, or a whole apple. If I put it back together, I would have 1 whole apple again. But if we eat it, then there will be no apples left. Ooh, the Granny Smith apple. This is the Granny Smith apple. Is it ripe? Yes. A Granny Smith is a green even when it's ripe and ready to be picked off the tree. This apple is sometimes hard to chew. It is not sweet. It's a little sour, but it makes a great pie. What if there are 4 children? I could divide it into 4 sections. I could divide it into half and then cut each of those pieces into half. We'd have 1/4 each. 1/4 plus 2/4, 3/4, 4/4. Still a whole apple, but 4 sections. If there are 4 people in the family and they want to eat 1 Granny Smith apple, the apple would need to be divided into 4 parts, or fourths. There is 1/4. Here is 3 more. 1, 2, 3, 4 sections. When I add fractions, I just add the top numbers because the bottom numbers are the same. So I'm keeping them the same, and I can say 1 plus 3 is 4. 4/4 is a whole piece. Oh, here is a red delicious apple. Apple has a stem and a skin and the seeds and the flesh of the fruit. Which apple tastes the best? Well, everyone has a favorite. Many people think the red delicious is the best looking and the best tasting. And the parts of the apple, the stem, the skin, the pulp, the core, and the seeds. Most apples have 10 seeds. That I didn't know. The pulp are the fruit. The core holds the seeds. And I did not know that most apples have 10 seeds. I'll have to start counting my apple seeds. A lot of times I just throw it away without counting them. Oranges is a fruit that comes in sections already. When I peel it, I get sections all the time. And not every orange has the same number of sections. It's not an apple, it's an orange. Another fruit that you can enjoy while learning fractions. There is no need to cut it. Under the peel, it grows in wedges. They usually grow in warm climates. Apples usually grow in cooler climates. Here is a Gala apple. A Gala is a medium-sized apple. It's about the size of your fist. The largest apples are as big as grapefruits. The smallest are the size of cherries. This Gala is cut into 5 equal parts. Each piece is 1/5. 1/5 plus 4/5 equals 5/5. Once the numbers above and below the line are the same, the fraction equals a whole. So if I put it all back together, I would have 5/5. It would be all there. But if I quickly ate this piece, then there would only be 4/5, and I could never make the whole apple again. Apple blossom. Our bee friends. Apple trees grow flowers in the spring. Bees fly from flower to flower and spread pollen on the apple blossoms. This is the start of an apple. Thank you, bees. Without bees, there would be no apples. 1/6 of the bees is busy working. 5/6 of the bees are looking for another apple tree, or maybe even a pear or a plum or a cherry. The whole group of B's is 6, 6. This one is busy. This one, these 5 are not. 1, 6 plus 5, 6 equals 6, 6, or the whole group. Here is a Cortland apple. If you cut an apple sideways, you'll notice that the core is shaped like a star. Dividing the apple sideways instead of from top to bottom will not give you equal parts. The top, the middle, and the bottom are each a different width. So I have sections, but not equal parts. And there's the star. I have to cut top to bottom and make wedges to make equal parts. Cutting odd numbers is not as easy as cutting even numbers. It's easy to keep dividing things in half. When I'm making odd cuts, like thirds and fifths and sevenths, I have to be a lot more careful. And it's not nearly as easy. Here is an Asian pear. Sometimes looks can fool you. This fruit looks like an apple, but it's shaped like an apple, but it tastes like a pear. Why? Because it's a pear. Let's use the Asian pear to learn about improper fractions. If this pear is divided into 8 equal pieces, each piece is 1/8 of the pear. A whole pear is 8 eighths. Imagine you have 9 eighths. Well, 9 eighths is an improper fraction. I have a whole pear plus one more piece. 9 eighths is really the whole pear and one more. Ooh, apple cider. Uncle Peter loves apple cider. What is the difference between cider and apple juice? Well, cider is squeezed from fresh apples, so the liquid is tannin full of pulp. Apple juice is a cider that has been filtered. The pulp is removed, and the apple juice is clear. Are you thirsty? Would you like 1/4, 1/2, 3/4, or a whole glass of milk? Sometimes I just want a little. I don't need the whole cup. I just need a little. A whole, 3/4, a half, 1/4. Oh, 1/10. Here are 10 apples, the whole pile of apples. There's 1/10 and 9/10. If I have, I ate 6 apples. I used 2 of the 10 to make juice and 2 of the 10 to make a pie. How did I use the whole group of apple? 6/10 were eaten, 2/10 were juice, 2/10 was a pie. Oh, apple pie. I cut one wedge. Maybe 1/12 of the pie. Maybe 1/8 of the pie. If I cut equal pieces. Apple pie is a much easier way to share a bunch of apples. Apple fractions.